All right, good morning, everyone. So, this is going to be our first online lesson of the week. Just like how you are doing this for the first time, I am also doing this for the first time. So, I really hope that this will be successful. So what I'm going to do today is first I will start off by introducing our morning assignment. After that, I will go into our vocabulary lesson, which will be our replacement for the conversation rows. Then I will teach today's grammar. After those have been completed in the email that I am sending you, you will see your assignments to work on today. So, let's have fun. So, for today's morning assignment, as usual, we are going to be working on our articles, which is a, and, the, or nothing. For students who are new to this class, I like to do articles every Tuesday morning. Number 1, because they're boring, number 2, because they're difficult, and number 3, because everybody hates them. I also like to do them because they are very, very important. Even in level 4, even in level 5 and beyond, international students have a very difficult time with this sort of grammar. So I like to practice it just a little bit once a week. Okay? So most of you should be familiar with this, but on the website it's a bit easier. So again, you have either a, and, the, or nothing. You are going to read this exercise, which is about a vacation. It is like an advertisement for a vacation, like you will see in a brochure. And in the appropriate areas, you will decide if it's either a, and, the, or nothing. So let's look at this first one. So welcome to Island. Is it welcome to the Tuvana Island? Is it welcome to Tuvana Island? Is it welcome to a Tuvana Island? Or is it welcome to Tuvana Island? This is your choice. Remember, usually when things have a name, we are going to be choosing nothing. The same thing is like, I will go to Mount Rainier or Mount Fuji. It's part of the name. Same thing with colleges. I will go to Washington University, on opposed to the University of Washington. So please fill this out, and once you have completed it, please in your email to me, tell me what your score was on your first try. If you don't get everything correct the first time, that's okay. Just continue changing your answers until you've gotten 100%. I believe in you. Okay, I hope that was fun. It probably wasn't, but I hope it was fun. So, with this next section, let's move on to our vocabulary. For people who have been in the class, this is usually what I call conversation rows, where you get to practice your English with another real student. Unfortunately, you are sitting alone at a computer, so you will not be able to talk to your friends. This will probably just be for this week, and I'm hoping that next week we will have a system or we can talk to each other. So what I want you to do today is on your phone, you should have an app that will allow you to record audio. So for each of these questions, please record yourself speaking for, 30 seconds to a minute, however long you want to talk and have something interesting to say. Please record your answer and send them to me in your follow-up email. So let's start with our first word today, which is going to be climate. So, climate. How does the climate in your hometown compare to the local climate around Seattle? Do you prefer this climate, or how is it back home? And if you had to choose an incredibly hot climate or an incredibly cold climate, which would you prefer? So, what does climate actually mean? The word climate is very, very similar to weather. The difference is weather is temporary. It is only for today, right now. Whereas climate is for the entire year. As you can see on this map, we have the tropical zone, which is very, very hot areas. The subtropic areas are still very hot, but quite a bit cooler. They also tend to have a lot of rain. We live in what is called a temperate zone, where it can be both very hot or very cold. And then the polar and subpolar zones are where it is very cold year-round. So I want you to look up here and imagine what this type of climate would be like. We're going to be talking about a very special place in the world, and it is called Omyakan, Russia. And Omyakan, Russia is one of the coldest climates in the world where people live every day. Throughout the entire year, the climate is constantly freezing cold. The weather is always the same, and the climate is always the same. I want you to compare this to what we're going to talk about next. This is called this is called Alice Springs, Australia, and it's right here in the center of the country. It is what I like to call the middle of nowhere. It is a place where very few people live, and it is also extremely hot, with very high temperatures going all year round. So, what looks like more fun? Do you want to live in the middle of nowhere, Australia, or the middle of nowhere, Russia? So let's look at our question again. How does climate in your hometown compare to the climate around Seattle? Again, climate basically means the yearly weather. Do you prefer our climate? Or do you prefer the climate of your home country, of your hometown? And if you had to choose between an incredibly hot climate or an incredibly cold climate, which would you prefer? Welcome back. So, thank you very much. This next word is a little bit less fun. We are going to talk about hunting. There's another word which I actually am going to want to talk about. This word is called poaching. It will not be on the test, and it will not be in the book, but I want you to understand the difference because it is important. So, most of you probably know what this word means, but let's still talk about it just for fun. So, hunting and poaching. What animals do people hunt in your country? And if you had to hunt for all the meat you ate, would you still eat meat, or would you become a vegetarian or a vegan? So let's start with the pictures. Hunting is the act of killing animals for food or for other things such as their fur, like their clothing, their skin. And sometimes people do it just for fun. It's called hunting for sport. In America, the most commonly hunted animals are things like deer, such as in this picture. People also hunt bears. Not you. They hunt bears, they hunt rabbits is another common thing. Sometimes they even hunt like wild pigs. We call them boar or inoshishi. So those are the things that people hunt. It's usually for food, but some people do it just for fun because they're evil. Anyways, so this is very different from the word poaching. Poaching is very similar, but is the hunting of illegal animals, such as you're not really allowed to hunt elephants and you're not allowed to hunt tigers. Other common animals that are hunted are lions or certain types of buffalo or like rhinos or hippos. These animals are hunted for very different reasons. Sometimes it's for the fur. A lot of people hunt rhinos and elephants for like their tusks, their horns, and they sell them for a lot of money. Now, these animals are endangered. Endangered means that there are very few of these animals, and it is a very big problem. So again, the biggest difference is that hunting is legal and poaching is illegal. So let's talk about vegetarians and vegans. I forgot to get pictures. I'm sorry. So a vegetarian is a person who does not eat meat. They will not eat any cheeseburgers or steaks or bacon or anything good like that. Some of them might eat eggs. It depends on the person. This is different from a vegan. And a vegan is much like a vegetarian, but it's even more serious. A vegan will use absolutely no animal products, such as like having their wallet, which is made of leather, or some women will wear furs or like expensive clothes that are made from animals. So a vegan is more than just not eating animals, it's not using animals for anything. So, thank you for that. Let's go back to our question, which is hunting and poaching. And that is just, what animals do people hunt in your country? And if you had to hunt for all the meat that you ate, would you still eat meat, or would you become a vegetarian or a vegan? Please think about your answer. I'm looking forward to hearing from you. Welcome back. Okay, so here's another question that isn't going to be a very fun word, but I like to think that this question is interesting, and I hope that you enjoy answering it. The main word I'm talking about is isolated. We are also going to talk about tribes. And before I even read any of this long stuff, I want to explain what these words mean, because this question will be difficult to answer unless you really understand these words. The first word we're talking about is isolated. And isolated means to be alone. It also implies that you are very far away from other people, that you are by yourself. Let's look at this first picture of this house. This person has isolated themselves from other people. They live alone in this little house on this little island, very far away from other people. They do not have any grocery stores or convenience stores or shopping malls or really anything. They are all alone by themselves. I spent about 6 months living in this area called Nishimeta. This area is extremely isolated from the rest of the country. And when I was living here, as you can see, there is absolutely nothing. Maybe you can't even see it, so let's go a little bit closer. Right, here we go. This is the whole thing. It is a super small, super isolated area, and the people who live here, they really don't leave very often. And I was talking to people who said that they had not left this village in years. So these people very much choose to isolate themselves. And when I lived here, I was very isolated from the rest of the world. So the next question is about tribes. And so a tribe is very much like a culture or a civilization. And a tribe is usually defined as a very small culture or a very small group of people who live closely together. It's not one big family, but they're usually somewhat related, or they live very closely with each other, and they have for a very long time. Most tribes we talk about live in countries like Africa, or some in Southeast Asia or in South America. This is an African tribe we are looking at. In the United States, we often talk about Native American tribes, who were many, many different cultures of people. You might hear about like the Sequoia, or this is a picture of the Navajo, is a very famous Native American tribe. And there are some tribes that live very isolated from the rest of the world. This is a picture of the Sudanese, and the Sudanese are an isolated tribe who lives by themselves off the coast of India. People have tried to contact them. Usually they don't survive. As you can see in this picture, they have bows and arrows and other weapons. They are not friendly to outsiders, only their isolated tribe. This is another picture from South America of a different isolated tribe. And as you can see, this picture was taken with a helicopter, and these people are, they're looking at the helicopter. They don't know what it is. And these cultures, they only know their own tribe. They only know their own culture. They know nothing about the outside world. They don't know about the internet or television. They don't know about the cultures we have, like cars or airplanes. They don't know about Kiari Pamu Pamu. They don't know about anything but themselves. So when they see us or they see things like helicopters, they do not know what they are looking at. So what I want you to do is to imagine that you are this little girl. You are looking at a thing. You are looking at this big, loud thing in the sky. And you've never seen this before, and your father has never seen this before. It is a mystery. You don't know what it is. And so I want you to be in her shoes and to imagine, what are you looking at? What is this thing? So let's go back to our question. Isolated and tribe. There are isolated tribes living in South Asia and Brazil. And do you think we should try to contact them, or should we leave them alone? Don't talk to them. Don't bother them. Or should we? What do you think? Question 2. If you were a member of these tribes and you saw a helicopter flying above you, what would you think that you were seeing? I'm excited to hear what you have to say. So that last question was pretty big and pretty difficult, so let's relax a little bit with something easier. This is the last one. It'll be short and it'll be easy. Thank you for your patience. So, when I was a kid, I really liked this game called Harvest Moon. Some of you might know it as Bakujo Monogatari, and it is a farming video game. And what you do is you run around a farm and you plant seeds and you plant crops, and then you harvest your seeds and you collect your crops and you sell them for money. And then you do it again and again and again and again, and then you die. It's really fun, honestly. So what you are doing in this game, you see this guy and he is collecting crops. And so what crops are things that you grow. In the book, your blue book that we're reading this week, it says that crops are plants that you grow for food, and that's actually not true. Crops are things that you grow, or plants that you grow and sell for money. So if you look in this picture, like there's apples and there's cherries and there's pumpkins, and that guy's got some bok choy. There's a sunflower down here and there's flowers. These are all things that you grow and sell for money. Most of them you can eat. And so I want you to think, what is a crop that you don't eat? Most plants, you eat them, right? Well, there's a couple more. So what is something that you grow? What is a crop that you grow that you do not eat? Think about it. Any ideas? Well, let's talk about two. The first one that you will think about, this is cotton, which is what you are wearing right now, probably. It's what my pillow is made out of. Cotton is a plant that was very widely grown in the United States. It was how the United States made most of its money in the early days. It is commonly associated with slaves, or the people that worked in America for no money. This was a very sad time in American history, and these slaves worked on cotton plantations growing cotton crops that were then sold for lots of money. So what is something else that you grow that you don't eat? Something that a lot of people consume and makes a lot of money. What's this picture? This is a picture of a tobacco plantation, which is then made into cigarettes. So this is another crop that people grow that is worth a lot of money. So it is something that you grow, but it's not something that you eat. So think about Washington. What crops do we grow around here? In the United States, the number one crop is corn, but Washington is very famous for its apples. There are many different kinds of apples. This is a picture of some kind of rare varieties that are grown in Washington state. Here it says the Pacific Coast. That's where we live in Washington. Our crops that we export are apples. So, let's go back to our question. What crops does your country export? Which means, what crops does your country sell? Also, what crops does your country have to import? Which means, what do they receive? What do they buy? Think about it for a second. Send me the answer in a voice clip. And again, this is our last vocabulary word for today. I hope you've enjoyed this segment. And next, let's begin with our grammar. All right, so it is about 10 o'clock at night. I have been working for 14 hours. Let's see if I can teach grammar. And honestly, I'm super sad that we don't have class this week because superlatives and comparatives is my favorite thing to teach students. It's really easy grammar, but students often make mistakes with it because it's really easy to make mistakes if you are talking quickly or if you start a sentence and you're not sure what you are going to say. It's easy to make mistakes, but that's okay because Americans make mistakes with this too. So, what are we talking about? Comparatives and superlatives. It is to talk about how two things are similar or how two things are different. So, first we're going to be talking about comparing adjectives. So we have things like smaller, smallest, nice, nicer, nicest, big, bigger, biggest. When we are talking about these ER, we are describing how something is larger or something is bigger than another thing. Let's look at our example here. Let's go into Paint. I hope you guys like math. Let's go over here. So, when I was a kid, we used to do these things with math. So let's see. Here's number 1. Excellent. Here's number 2. Which is bigger, 1 or 2? Do you guys remember doing this? You make these little things and to decide which is bigger, which is smaller. In American culture, what they used to teach us to do. Sorry, I'm tired, so I'm gonna have some fun. Let's draw this little guy. Here we go. Let's give him a nice little tail. Give him a couple legs. Excellent. And let's make him happy. They used to teach us to make alligators to describe which one was bigger or which one was smaller. The idea is that he wants to eat the bigger one. I don't know why I'm teaching you this. This is just American culture. So we're describing how two things are, something is bigger or something is better than the other one. And then so if you want to say that something is number 1, the most of something, the smallest, the biggest, you describe it with these EST words. So we're using ER for comparison, and we're using EST for adjectives. That's the simple part. Notice that these are all small words. Nice, big, warm, hot, boom, 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 boom. They only have one word. When words have two or more syllables, we don't use ER or EST. We use more or most. This is the same thing. So careful, something that's more careful or the most careful. Something that's more boring or something that is the most boring ever. Notice how these words are. Careful, 2 syllables. Boring, 2 syllables. Exciting, how many? Exciting, 3 syllables. What about this word? How many syllables is this word? Reliable. Reliable. 4 syllables. So there are some exceptions, but usually when a word is more than 2 syllables, we use more or most. Whereas over here, with these single syllable words, we use ER or EST. This is where students make a lot of mistakes. So let's go over here. Let me type in a couple of example sentences. Kiki. He says that he misses you, Regard. So, Kiki is, let's do here. Which one of these is correct? Kiki is more cute than Max, or Kiki is cuter than Max? Which one is it? Is it is it letter A? Is it letter A, or is it letter B? Which one? Oh my god, you are so smart. It is correct. It is B. Kiki is cuter than Max. See, it is one of these little words like right here. Let's try whoops daisy. Let's try another one here. How about, let's see, how should I do this? And then let's do science is interestinger than math. You guys should figure this out. Obviously, because it is interesting, 4 syllables, this is the correct answer. So now, don't do this, don't do this. Oh, please, God, do not do this. This is extremely, very, 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 very common mistake. If a student doesn't know what to say, they will say, like, I don't know, the movie was more scarier than the other movie. I don't know, I'm tired. So what's happening here is a student did both. I'm calling this a double comparative. They will say more scarier, and you cannot use both. You either need to use more or you need to use ER. So, which is correct? The movie was scarier than the other movie, or the movie was more scary? Which is correct? And the answer should be the movie was scarier than the other movie. Let's talk about spelling. So there are some words that when they end in a Y, you don't just do an ER or an EST. That Y will actually become an IER. Busy, busier, busiest. Happy, happier, happiest. Dirty, dirtier, dirtiest. The Y becomes an ER or an EST. Moving on, let's talk about some more complicated grammar. So adjectives ending in an E add just an R, only an R, or an ST. So fine, finer, safe, safest, large, larger. Adjectives that end in a consonant, so not a vowel, so like B, D, L, P, J. But the Y, you lose the Y. So lovelier, luckiest, prettier. And adjectives that end in a single vowel plus single consonant You double the consonants. So fit by itself, that means you add another T in an ER. A word that's sad, it goes vowel consonant. You do another consonant, so D-D-E-R. Same thing with thin, thin, thinner, wet, wettest, hot, hottest. Those are the other examples. Then these are the irregular ones, which you just need to remember. Like, you can't say gooder or goodest, and you can't say badder or baddest. Well, you can say baddest. That's like slang, but usually with these we use better, best, or worse, worst, or far, farther, farthest, or further, furthest. You can also use elder, eldest instead of older, oldest if you're talking about families. This is for when you want to say that two things are like the same size. So such as the yellow paper is as big as the white paper. If you have this blank or nani as, it's the same thing. They are equals, right? It isn't as cold as yesterday. The steak is more expensive than the fish. We're using this than for comparisons. Or she is older than me. She is older than I am, right? Here's some more difficult grammar. This is more like level 4. You could also use least and less. That is the opposite of more and most. Again, we don't teach this in level 3. I'm just teaching you for fun because you should know it. But less and least are like the same as more and most, but for negative. So I am the least musical person in the world, and I go out less often these days. Okay. That's pretty much what I'm going to do for today. This is if it was a real class where I would have you write sentences, but I just want you to think about these examples. So here we have fruit, we have french fries, and we have chocolate. So I want you to use the word healthy. Out of these, which is the healthiest? Fruit, french fries, or chocolate? If you said fruit is the most healthy, you are correct. Which of these is the sweetest? Some of you might say fruit, some of you might say chocolate. It's one or the other. It's not french fries, right? So you could say chocolate is sweeter than fries. Which is fattening? Fruit? Not really. Chocolate? Maybe a little bit. But fries are more fattening than chocolate. Fries are the most fattening, right? Let's look at countries. So think about temperatures, right? Which temperature or which city has the most which country has the most cold climate, or the coldest climate, right? I would probably say that Canada has the coldest climate, wherein Spain is probably colder than Jamaica, right? Anyways, you can look at these for yourself, and if you would like to, I want you to try to write at least 5 example sentences using these pictures, and also send them to me in your email. And if you look in the email, I will also be attaching this PowerPoint. So, anyways, that is going to conclude today's grammar lesson. It's really easy, it's really fun, and I wish that I could teach this to you guys. Anyways, with this, that is going to be the end of today's lesson. Please see your email for additional notes and things that I want to talk to you about. If you watched this video until the end, I want to thank you guys very, very much, and please have a great rest of your day. Remember, be good people.